object that he may do damage on.
Amen,
So
sister.
go surfing, go bowling, go skiing, go golfing. Have a good schluff, eat to your heart's content, and leave us alone.
Keep your damn hands
Yeah.
out of the government, okay? 75 degrees outside today,
Yes.
ladies and gentlemen, and the traffic is trafficking.
Yes.
And I think we're getting a thumbs up on the Trento Vision site being up. What was the problem?
Something happened in Wirecast.
Okay. What we need to do is start up a little earlier. It's not quite there yet. But anyway, we're going to continue. When I say Ed Koch, I grew up in New Jersey. And, New Jersey, if you don't know, is right next to New York, if you didn't know that. And Ed Koch was a larger-than-life guy. He was, and I'm all frozen here, he was the mayor. Do you have the date? I think he was from 78 to 89, I think it was. What do you have there?
I'm refreshing my screen.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
We are having
no quizzes
technical
while I'm
difficulties.
refreshing my screen.
Technical difficulties at Trento Vision today. But, yeah, okay. All right, Ed Koch was born in 1924. He's 89 years old. Died 18 days ago. And he was a very interesting guy. He served in the House, U.S. House of Representatives, from late 60s to almost the late 70s. And then 3 terms as the mayor of New York. And he came in when the previous mayors had run the thing into the ground. He liked to describe himself as a liberal with sanity. And if you followed his career, that actually was pretty good. He crossed party lines a lot when he believed in the individual. He supported Giuliani at one point, Bloomberg, George Bush for president.
John McCain also.
John McCain was a friend. And he was always a very strong proponent of Israel.
Absolutely.
And not many people know, but he served in World War II. Distinguished. I mean, he served in a distinguished sense. He was drafted in, I think, 43. He was in the infantry, 104th Infantry Division, went into France, earned battle awards for being in combat. He could speak German, and because he spoke German, he went to Bavaria after the war and helped remove, I don't think people know this about him, Ed Koch helped remove Nazi public officials from their jobs and find non-Nazis to take their place.
Wow.
That is pretty interesting.
That is very interesting.
So that was 46. He was born in 24. He was 22 years old.
Wow.
He been through combat, spoke German. Because he spoke German, they sent him to Bavaria, and he was an intelligence officer. He was discharged with the rank of sergeant in 46. So a 22-year-old kid dealing with these hardcore Nazi animals, not unlike Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, and having to talk to them in their language. Can you imagine how they felt to this little snot-nosed kid with a New York accent, and they are the Third Reich? They still can't believe that they didn't usher in a 1,000-year reign through their Führer.
Well, it's worse than that, because the reason why he could probably speak German is because he probably grew up speaking Yiddish in his house, which is 80% German.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So it was probably very easy for him to pick up German. So when he's speaking to actual Germans, they know from his accent and from his sentence construction that he's speaking German from Yiddish.
Very
so
interesting.
that had to really irritate them even more. Just a little linguistic aside there.
That is very, and you need to, the listeners and viewers need to get a sense of the historical moment, because you got this near in Bavaria, and it's still, I mean, the war's over, but you don't know. There's still crazy Germans that want to kill everybody, and the security is probably patched together. You got this 22-year-old kid every day. He's in logical discussions. Can you imagine how his polemic capability was honed, arguing in a second language? Because they all said, I had nothing to do with it. I'm not a Nazi.
Right.
I know nothing about this. Somebody put this uniform on me that you caught me in, you know?
Wasn't there a TV show that had some guy on it who was always
I
saying,
know
I know nothing?
Yeah, that was Hogan's Heroes.
Oh,
I know
okay.
nothing.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Following orders.
Yeah, I was just following orders.
Yeah.
I was following orders. I love Jewish people. I love America.
Some
Oh,
of my
the
best friends were Jews.
Yeah, New York Yankees, Babe Ruth, New York Yankees, Joe DiMaggio. You know, and this 22-year-old kid had to weed through all of that, and you can tell by his life, Koch, that he had an ethical base. You know, his what's the word I'm looking for? His not thermometer, but your ethical barometer,
Right.
was sound. You could see that through his life. So he would not want to, in an unwarranted fashion, accuse someone of being in a position as a Nazi, which would destroy their life, maybe put them in prison for the rest of their life, unless they truly were. So I don't think he was in there just saying, let's throw all the Germans in prison, let's kill them all. You know, he was weeding through this. And you can see through his life. Again, being from Jersey, I watched a lot of Ed Koch's Kochisms, but his logical debate, he was a phenomenal debater. He could stand against anyone, and you know, sometimes you don't agree with his premise, but his skill at arguing and debate was untouched by many. And I believe in this year or so where he's dealing with Nazis to figure out if they're really Nazis, really helped equip him for public service.
It's so interesting, especially when you think about today's generation of kids, like the ones we come across on the campus of FAU. Can you imagine them doing anything as grand as that?
God.
Can you imagine them doing anything but stirring up some crap and playing video games and living in their parents' houses and expecting their family, their city, their school, their country just to give them everything they want, and they do nothing in return for it?
You mean the not greatest generation?
The
That's what
not
you're talking-
greatest
Yeah, that's the one you're
generation. That's
talking
exactly what I mean.
about. Yeah, there's another very important point here too. Not only did he hone his polemic, his debating skills, but he developed a crystal clear sense of right and wrong, black and white sense of right and wrong. Because, I mean, we have the privilege and the hindsight of being on this side of history, looking back at the Third Reich and that whole run up and that whole crazy moment in history, going, that's completely wrong. But sometimes when you're in the middle of that, and you know, Hitler came in, he won a couple of elections, and made the trains run on time. He restored the economy to Germany, and people actually thought this is a phenomenal guy before his world domination plans came in. In fact, because he was so successful, people started, honoring him more and more and attributing greatness to him, which led him to have larger and larger plans. So sometimes when you're in the midst of that, it's hard to see the lines between right and wrong. But he was right there, Koch, having to deal with Nazis.
Right.
And
when he was in Congress, he was dealing with communists.
He
was an anti-communist liberal.
So he always was fighting these ideologies that were
Yeah.
completely black and white, wrong. It's wrong, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's wrong to be a dictator. It's wrong to be a communist. It's wrong to be a Nazi.
So the fascism and statism of Hitler, he saw that as clearly wrong. And you're right. When he was in Congress in the late 60s, 70s, the Cold War time, he was in law school, all of that right after the military. He's fighting the Cold War and looking at communism. So he dealt with that. Now, all of this to give an explanation why he would write on his tombstone, killed by a Muslim terrorist. Why would you write that on your tombstone? Unless you wanted to send a message to the world, a very critical message to the world. So we got this fascinatingly entertaining. There's nothing. We got nothing.
I got nothing on both
There's no picture
on
right?
Trento Vision and on YouTube.
Yeah, we're dead in the water on the video, guys. So don't worry about that. But we're at you on the radio side. Are we recording?
I have no idea.
You don't know if we're recording?
If we're recording, we can put this out tomorrow.
Do you have to hit record?
I don't know. I mean, it's supposed to record on YouTube.
If it is, then it is.
No, because we have no picture. So call Mark, find out if it's
I
recording.
already talked to him. He said everything was running fine.
Yeah, well,
talk me through
it ain't running fine, but that's okay in any event. All right, so he runs for 3 terms for mayor, and we're not going to get into his political career because that was very colorful,
that
to
was
say the least.
extremely colorful.
We're running fine. I'm getting it right here. So guys, hit your refresh button.
I've been refreshing it like every 30 seconds.
I'm going to shut it and start it over again. So he runs for 3 terms for mayor, and we're not going to get into. Where are you getting that from?
Are you getting a picture or just the audio?
Colorful, to say the least. Just shut it and reboot the whole thing.
On YouTube.
Nope, not me. Oh, YouTube. Okay, not Trento Vision. All right. Anyway, we're not going to go through all of his political career. That was pretty exciting. But let's come down to the last years of his life and his support for Israel. Are you familiar with his support for Israel, Ed Koch? Not that much. Are you? I mean, he always stood with the nation of Israel as a Jew, obviously. And once 9/11 hit, I mean, he took that extremely personally. And if there are any New Yorkers out there, or Jersey people, or people familiar with Ed Koch, Mayor Ed Koch, and can bring some insight, let me read exactly what's on his headstone. Really a fascinating. Here it is, right here. Fascinating. Here's what it says on his headstone. And by the way, he couldn't. About 5 years ago, he decided that he was 84. He decided that he should start making final preparations. And believe it or not, Manhattan is the Jewish cemeteries in Manhattan are filled up. Mm-hmm. Ain't taking anybody else.
Right.
So as a Jew, he had to go to Jersey. He had to go over to New Jersey. And ironically, though he was born in New York, I believe the Bronx, he grew up in Newark, New Jersey, where I grew up. So he cut his teeth on the same streets that I ran around on. How about that? He was a little before me. He's my father's age, actually. And so he grew up in Jersey, but as a kid, then went to New York after the war, and spent all his life in Manhattan. Now, 5 years ago, he starts to make final preparations for his death, and he didn't fear death. He said, everybody's afraid of death, I'm not. So he goes and starts looking for a Jewish cemetery to buy a plot, and guess what? There were none. No Jewish cemetery. No room at the inn for Ed Koch. And so he has to go to New Jersey to be buried. And he goes, I ain't going to New Jersey. My heart, my soul, my life is in Manhattan. I ain't going to Jersey. It's that simple. I got to go through the tunnel, Lincoln Tunnel, Holland Tunnel. Got to go over the bridges. Ain't doing it. So guess what he did? He went to a Christian cemetery. Non-denominational, but mostly a Christian cemetery, which is an extension of Trinity Church in Manhattan. And he had to dial up a couple of rabbis to make this thing work.
Right. How do we make this kosher?
Yeah. And it's fascinating what he had to go through. He found the cemetery that he wanted to be at up in way up northern part of New York City, and the rabbis advised that there has to be separation with the other parts of the cemetery. It has to be at the end. Has to be its own cemetery within the cemetery. Okay, there's always a way.
Right.
There's always a way. So the rabbis found a way, and we can even play the video. Can we play the video? But
Okay.
Everything's working. We're
on what?
running.
On Trento Vision?
On YouTube.
Okay, let me go to YouTube.
Yeah.
We're gonna go. All right, for everybody listening, if you want to watch the show, we normally broadcast on 3 or 4 different channels. We broadcast on TrentoVision.tv, but it ain't happening for some reason. We broadcast on TeaPartyCommunity.com. Is that happening? Do you see that? I don't know if that's happening.
We should be on Ustream and YouTube, so I don't know where we're.
But we know we're on YouTube. Go to YouTube/The United West. One word, The United West.
YouTube.com/The United West.
YouTube.com/The United West. And we're going to show you a little video in a second.
Okay. Do you know what I have to say? Because I'm just scrolling down, reading some things here, and there's some really funny quotes
From him?
from Ed Koch. Can
Like
I
what?
read those?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. One of them was when he lost a primary to later Mayor David Dinkins.
Oh, you're an idiot.
Yeah, the quote was, "The people have spoken, and they must be punished."
Yes, that's pretty good. When they voted for Dinkins instead of him, that was
Koch.
very good.
Yeah, and here's another one. "If you agree with me on 9 out of 12 issues, vote for me. If you agree with me on 12 out of 12 issues, see a psychiatrist."
Yeah, that's very good. That's very good. All right, we are up and running on YouTube, youtube.com/The United West, all
I think
one
it's
word.
important to make somebody, approachable and humorously human.
He was
you
very
know?
he was very approachable. Even the New Yorkers saw it and knew that if he was on the street, he'd talk to them and he'd eat their hot dogs and whatever. I mean, he was very approachable.
Well, I know, but a lot of people nowadays don't really know who he is.
Yeah, that's the sad part because he is part of the lore of New York. All right, so let me read what's on his headstone. 5 years ago, he secured this at a Christian cemetery. Got it to make it a Jewish section of its own cemetery within a cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
And when it was put up, obviously there's no death date. They're going to carve all of that stuff in
Right.
later on. It says Edward I. Koch, and it's got the seal of New York City, Mayor of City of New York, 1978 to 89. And then here's the quote from Daniel Jacob Pearl, who died on February 1st, 2002. The quote that Ed Koch believes, it's up on Tea Party Community now, too. The quote that Ed Koch believes should be read all the time at every Jewish festival, every Jewish holy day. And here's the quote that were the last words of Daniel Pearl, beheaded by the animal Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, who, by the way, sits at taxpayer expense at Guantanamo Bay, demanding that he has the right food. They have to have
Right.
halal food.
Mm-hmm.
He has to have the right Muslim skull cap hat, the right Quran.
The right rug.
Unbelievable.
Everybody who serves him has to wear gloves.
And he is
Revolting.
he is proud of the fact that his hands cut the head off of the Jew Daniel Pearl.
Yeah.
And part of the way that, because he was hooded, and some of the testimony of him beheading Daniel Pearl comes out after he was waterboarded. So we waterboarded Khalid Sheikh Mohammed many times, got a lot of information from him, but the defense is going to say, oh, that's not acceptable. So our folks did forensic testing on the vein structure of his hand that was holding the knife and compared the vein structure to his hand and confirmed scientifically that his hand was the hand that did it, right? Because you can see it in the video. I've seen the video, when it first happened, and I have no interest in seeing it again. But and the whole history, this is what's really bizarre too. Well, I'll read this, then we'll get into the history, a little bit of Daniel Pearl, and then because all of this is so critically important as to why Ed Koch did what he did, and how this leads into our next hour too. Daniel Pearl had to make some final statements before he was killed. And Daniel Pearl said on February 1st, 2002, he said, "My father is Jewish. My mother is Jewish. I am Jewish." If you look at that, I'm a Christian, right? If I look at that, you tell me, you guys tell me. I have two Jewish folks in here. What do you see in that statement? What do you see in that statement?
A proud Jew, a very proud Jew, and
a proud Jew is what you're saying.
very proud Jew.
What do you see, CJ?
Well, I see someone who is definitively Jewish, who defined himself first and foremost, and in the last as a Jewish man.
Yeah, and Daniel Pearl was fascinating background, highly academic, Stanford, all of this, fellowships, wound up with, I believe, the Wall Street Journal on assignment around the world. Wanted to interview Sheikh Jelani. What a low-life scumhead that guy is. Sheikh Jelani was basically Pakistan terrorist. And he's the guy that started 35 Muslim terrorist camps in the United States of America.
Right,
with the Muslims on America, Muslims for America.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be when the black Muslims would come out of prison, they would go to these camps as sort of reorientation into we got somebody there? We got a guy?
Yeah.
Reorientation back into society. Well, they're terrorist training camps. I was at one of them. Yeah. I went to Red House in Virginia and stood at Sheikh Jelani Drive and Sheikh Jelani Place, and then these black terrorists start coming out after us, and we had to take off.
By the way, on this tombstone here for Ed Koch, it says in parentheses underneath where it says, "My father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am Jewish."
Yeah, this is
in
the money shot.
In parentheses underneath, it says Daniel Pearl, 2002, just before he was beheaded by a Muslim terrorist.
Yeah, that's the Koch money shot. That's Ed Koch waving his middle finger at all the pro-Islamic liberals that he dealt with around the world that don't want to name the jihad the jihad. They don't want to name Muslim terrorism. The president cannot say Muslim terrorism. Ed Koch said that's what it is. When you got a guy like this, he's trying to live a good life and be a good father. His baby was born 4 months after he died, Daniel Pearl.
Yeah.
And he's trying to interview a terrorist who has set up 35 camps in the United States. And these animals slice his head off, and everybody in this country is afraid to say Muslim terrorism.
Well, they don't just slice his head off, do they?
No, they don't. They cut his body into a million pieces.
They take videos of it.
Mm-hmm.
They pass his head around because they're so proud of the fact that they did this. They chop his body up into pieces and bury it.
Yeah, 10 different pieces. So this is Ed Koch having carved into stone, chiseled into stone, Daniel Pearl, 2002, just before he was beheaded by a Muslim terrorist.
Yeah, I think that's critical. And then you can read what's below that,
the
too.
Shema,
because,
yeah. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. I mean, this thing ought to be studied. This gravestone ought to be studied by people.
It will be.
Yeah. Yep.
It will be.
And then read what's on the bottom piece of that.
Oh, I'm having a hard time.
I'll read it.
Seeing it.
Can you play the video in a second, Mike? He was fiercely proud of his Jewish faith, Ed Koch. He was fiercely defended the city of New York. He fiercely loved its people, and above all, he loved his country, the United States of America, in whose armed forces he served in World War II.
Yeah.
Let's take one call, and then we'll go into something.
We have Arthur on the line.
Arthur, hi. You're with Tom and CJ on an Ed Koch Tuesday here.
Well, I was going to say something else since you're talking about Ed Koch. He's my favorite Jew. As a Christian, we are Jews. We are the seed of Abraham. So I love and cherish the Jewish nation. I pray for Israel and Jerusalem all the time. You said something about Ed Koch calling a Muslim terrorist a Muslim terrorist. Well, our president, or our king-in-chief, who usurped the authority of the Constitution, is sitting in dictatorship over us right now because of the recess appointments and the fact that he thumbed his nose in the federal court's appeals decision by leaving the two people that they found unconstitutionally appointed there. So he usurped the Constitution in that there is no separation of powers anymore.
Right.
So would he be considered American Muslim terrorist, and execution by drone would be legal for him? Is that
Oh
what I
my
get?
goodness.
You know, these are wild questions that a lot of people are going to be looking at.
Read. I'm sorry.
No, I know.
I was going to quote the founders, but many people don't want to hear that. But if you read the Federalist Papers, and you can go into the American Ideal of 1776 online, and you can read the quotes like on limited government, the founding principles of the Constitution, limited government, and you can read for yourself what our founders would have done to him.
Well,
They would have removed him from office, tried him, and duly sentenced him immediately. And Thomas Jefferson even said, "This is what's killing me." Thomas Jefferson even said tyrants should be removed, and by force if necessary. It says public officials exceed the limits of power delegated to them by the people under the fundamental law violate, endanger the people's God-given right, the Second Amendment for one, but I'm talking about the recess appointments, and the unalienable rights there exist themselves defaulting trustees. They're usurpers.
Yeah, well, here's the situation. We hear a lot. You know, people are saying, "Oh, it's time for a revolution." I mean, a physical revolution, and we lost the state of. And let me go on record as saying it's not the time for that by any means.
No.
Listen, we lost.
Get the guns. It'll be the time.
We lost the state of Florida. 19 million people, about 10 million voted. We lost the state of Florida by 74,000 votes. We lost the country on November 6th by less than 500,000 votes. We still have 30-something Republican governors. We have there's 535 people that run the country essentially, and you know we need to replace about 100 of them, and the whole paradigm shifts. It's a political process. It makes no sense. It would be counterproductive to get kinetic. I mean, it's a very bad thought at this point.
I know what you're saying, but I'm not saying by force. I'm saying it's our Congress' job
Yes.
to impeach him.
Well, yeah, and
the balance of powers. We're not under the balance.
No,
of powers.
and some of our very good friends who are serious constitutional attorneys believe that the president has exposed himself to impeachment, Benghazi being one of them. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, sure.
All right.
But that's
Hey,
one of them.
thank you, Arthur.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it. Thanks
Keep
for your call.
listening.
Good call.
Appreciate it. Can you take one more?
Yeah, one
before the
more,
break?
and then
okay.
we'll,
we have Patrick on the line.
Hi, Patrick. You're with Tom and
that
CJ.
last call is a perfect example of why we, the people, kicked the Republicans out of office and reelected President Obama. I mean, the right wingers are stuck in the past, man. The Federalist Papers, the Constitutionists, and all those other
Those old things. Things.
Yeah, it's like it's so ridiculous, and just like this last guy, it's like you want to. The president killed Osama bin Laden. He is the best friend Israel has ever had. Israel needs to come around and try and make peace with the Palestinians and find a two-state solution the way the president has tried to do it. And you have crazy people like this nut that just was on the phone, and you all were basically just patting him on the back. Yeah, hey, let's go. But you don't get it. We outnumber. The demographics are changing. We outnumber the right wingers now. This is our
Who is
now.
we?
We're not giving it back.
Who is we?
And
How
I
do you
can laugh at him, but
identify
I mean, on
yourself?
November 6th.
How do you identify yourself, Patrick, when you say we?
I'm talking about patriotic Americans, people who love this country, love this president, supports everything this president has done after George Bush screwed the country up.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So that's what I'm talking about when I say
Here's what I got to do. Here's what
Okay, well, I want to finish the hour.
Yeah,
about Ed Koch,
Patrick, let's
I think
I
think he should call
the
back
third
another
hour.
time.
No,
yeah?
the third hour.
Yeah.
We got only a couple of minutes to finish the Ed Koch piece, and you've raised about 10 fascinating conversation points, but we just can't pursue them right now. So let me let you go. Let me finish this Ed Koch hour. Then we got a fascinating hour next. In the third hour, you want to call back, we can get into it and show you how you're mistaken, and if you're open to logically look at this stuff, you may be coming over to our side. Patrick, how about that?
Make you a patron.
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Patrick.
Good talking to you. All right, let's conclude. Mike, run that video. We're going to let you listen to a video that was shot at Ed Koch's gravestone a year ago before he died. It's really very interesting. And I think this piece really sets off an individual who understood Islamic jihad, Muslim terrorism, wasn't afraid to say it, and we need more people to follow in the footsteps of Ed Koch's excellent leadership on this. And I disagree with the guy on a lot of political issues.
Yeah.
There is then a burial plot, and then a headstone and monument to go. But in this case, we do have a burial plot, we do have a headstone, but we do not yet have a death.
This was a year ago.
Steve Dewar from Cemetery Nation. We're standing in the southern eastern
This guy's a show on
section
cemeteries.
of Trinity Cemetery here in northerly Manhattan. It turns out the burial plot I stand upon will be the final resting place of Mayor Ed Koch. Yes, the 105th mayor to New York City history. Third-term mayor, famous for the one line, "How am I doing?" Turns out that Mr. Koch has prearranged and pre-purchased his own burial plot here in the Jewish section of Trinity Cemetery.
The only one, yeah.
Beautiful 5.5-foot headstone. Inscribed on the stone is of his faith, the Jewish Star of David, his name, the city coat of arms, the years he served as mayor, and a very powerful, poignant quote. "My father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am Jewish," which is not a quote from him, but a quote from Daniel Pearl, who was beheaded in 2002 by Muslim terrorists. And then below are other quotes. But what's interesting about this headstone that's different from most headstones in the cemetery we're in, there is no birth or death date, simply because there has been no death. The plot is not too big, but I do like the fact that it has this 3-tier monument, and right here, you can't really see it, is a small bench.
This is cool.
There it is, a small bench with his name inscribed to give visitors an opportunity to sit and to ponder and reflect upon the life of Ed Koch. But for right now, he's still alive and doing quite well. He's actually a lawyer in Midtown and does claim in a recent interview that he does have a few years left, but as long as he keeps his marbles and he's not dependent upon anyone else, he's doing great. But does not and is not afraid of the afterlife. He feels that most Americans are afraid of death, which humors him. Looking very forward to bringing this plot to you in the future, Steve Dewar.
Okay, that's some guy who
Very
goes around.
interesting.
Yeah, he goes around to cemetery plots. That was about a year ago before Ed Koch died, and now
Yeah.
they will put the dates. But the message for this hour, folks, is that even a liberal, sane liberal, as he referred to himself, a liberal politician all his life, who had the clarity of vision, schooled at the in Bavaria, fighting the Nazi officials and trying to find out what they're all about, then fighting communism. And he had the clarity of vision to understand the right and wrong in the world, particularly as it relates to Muslim terrorism, Islamic jihad. Liberals out there need to take a lesson from Ed Koch
Yes.
and call a Muslim terrorist a Muslim terrorist. And you're going to see in the next hour, and hear in the next hour, another story that's going to solidify that point.
All right.
All right, what was the other couple?
The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of the station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
I'm Stephanie Abrams. The lives of ordinary people are ensnared in a web of intrigue, and it all starts with rumors in my new novel. The story is fast-paced and draws the reader into the characters' experiences as secrets, lies, and conspiracies grow from rumors and create chaos in a quiet suburban community. Rumors, your perfect leisure time companion.
Rumors by Stephanie Abrams. Visit Amazon.com, where Rumors is available in print and Kindle formats, BarnesandNoble.com, and Exlibris.com in print and ebooks. Or go to sabrams.com/rumors to click right through. sabrams.com/rumors.
Rumors by Stephanie Abrams. That would be me.
AM 1470 WNN with more of what you need to know. Tune in for No Bones About It with Dr. Alvin Stein, Tuesday mornings at 11 on South Florida's Health and Wealth Network. AM 1470 WNN. The bond between a child and a horse is special. When that child is physically or mentally challenged, the results are magical. Horses in the Handicap of South Florida has been providing equine-assisted therapy to hundreds of children, the majority of which could never afford this highly beneficial therapy on their own. It's a great cause, and here's a great way to help. Grab your boots and join us on Friday, March 1st at 7 p.m. at Ron Bergeron's Green Glades Ranch in Weston for the 3rd annual Wild West Night. This fun and exciting evening will feature great food and drink. Try an alligator Ron, live music with the Barron Sisters and the Andrews Morris Band. A live and silent auction featuring a Taylor Swift autographed guitar, live writing demonstrations, and much, much more. It's all to celebrate the legacy of Megan Morency. And all the proceeds go to Horses in the Handicap. Wild Wild West Night, Friday, March 1st. For tickets, visit hhsfl.org. That's hhsfl.org.
So, I'm a dog, and I'm kind of new to this family, but I've noticed a trend. My humans do this thing where they go around and get all my toys and hide them in this basket, but it's always the same basket, and it's always the same place. And then they act so surprised when I find them. But I'm like, hello? That's where you put it last time. Humans are the worst at hide and go seek.
A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet. Be that person. Adopt. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the ShelterPetProject.org.
This is Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach, and WKIS HD3, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
IRN USA Radio News, I'm Hope Duggar. The number of Afghan civilians killed in U.S. and NATO airstrikes declined last year, according to a document from the United Nations mission to Afghanistan. Correspondent Kim Gamble has more.
The UN report actually shows that the number of Afghan civilians who were killed in U.S. and NATO airstrikes dropped by nearly half last year to 126. This comes after the international military has implemented measures to try to mitigate civilian casualties.
Secretary of State John Kerry will make his first official trip overseas next week, a jam-packed travel agenda that includes meetings in 9 nations across Europe and the Middle East. But there will be no stops in Israel or the Palestinian territories. State Department spokeswoman Victoria Nuland says Kerry is bypassing Jerusalem and Ramallah while Israeli political parties continue to form a government after recent elections. This is IRN USA Radio News.
I will never forget the day my son Jeremy told me he hated me and slammed the door in my face. I'm behavioral therapist Janet Lehman. Behavior problems can turn the child you love and your life into a nightmare. That's why my husband James and I created the Total Transformation, the step-by-step program that shows you how to fix the worst behavior problems and get your child to respect and listen to you again. No matter what the behavior, defiance, backtalk, angry outbursts, disrespect, we can help you stop it. Now you can get the Total Transformation for free. All you need to do is get the program and let us know how it works for you. You can keep it forever for free.
Limited number of free programs available. Call now, 1-800-893-4392. 1-800-893-4392. That's 1-800-893-4392. 1-800-893-4392.
Two different accounts of the shooting death of the girlfriend of Oscar Pistorius are coming from South African prosecutors and from Pistorius himself. At a court hearing today, prosecutors allege that Pistorius took the time to put on his artificial legs and walk some 7 yards from the bed to the bathroom door before opening fire through the door, killing Reva Steenkamp. But in a statement read by his lawyer, the track star said he didn't have on his prosthetic legs when he fired, thinking there was an intruder inside. A Syrian official says 2 mortars have exploded near one of President Bashar Assad's palaces in the capital, Damascus. No casualties were reported, and it was unclear whether Assad was in the palace. BP says it's ready to defend itself vigorously against allegations of gross negligence in the 2010 disaster in the Gulf of Mexico that killed 11 workers. BP has acknowledged that it failed to reach a settlement in advance of next week's civil trial. BP already agreed to a $4.5 billion settlement of federal criminal charges and has set aside billions more to pay fines and damages resulting from the spill. For the latest news and analysis, log on to IRNUSAnews.com.
Attention homeowners, the Obama administration is pressuring lenders to do more to prevent foreclosure with its home affordability and stability plan. If you own a home and you're having trouble making your payments or facing foreclosure, we can help. We now have the ability to stop foreclosure proceedings, forgive late payments and penalties, and reduce your mortgage payment to as low as 2%. Call the National Mortgage Helpline today at 800-522-1205. You don't need equity or good credit. You just need to call 800-522-1205.
Los Angeles Police Chief Charlie Beck says the review of ex-officer Christopher Dorner's firing is underway, but it's too early to comment on the re-examination. Beck told a press conference today that he doesn't discount the effect that Dorner's manifesto has had on the reputation of the police department. Dorner, who was black, claimed he was subjected to racism and was targeted for reporting misconduct. He died of an apparently self-inflicted gunshot during a mountain cabin siege that followed a spree of violence in which authorities say he killed 4 people and wounded 3. The Colorado House has approved and sent to the state Senate new gun control measures. Correspondent Ross Simpson reports one of the proposals deals with the amount of bullets guns can carry.
The proposed ammunition restrictions limit magazines to 15 rounds for firearms, 8 for shotguns. Rhonda Fields, a sponsor of the bill and representative of the district where the shootings at an Aurora theater happened last summer, said enough is enough. She said she's sick and tired of the bloodshed. Her son was fatally shot back in 2005. Republicans argued that the proposals restrict Second Amendment rights and won't prevent mass shootings like the ones in Aurora and in Connecticut. I'm Ross Simpson.
A Virginia pizza shop owner is telling customers, show me your guns, or at least show me your gun permit. Jay Lays, who owns All Around Pizzas and Deli in Virginia Beach, says customers who show him their gun or concealed handgun permit get a 15% discount. Lays says since last Friday, 80% of his customers have brought guns into the pizza shop. With IRN USA Radio News.
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Okay, we're back. Tom Trento, live and in color. We are cooking on all websites. Are we? Trento Vision? Yeah, check that. Are we on Trento Vision? I am speaking. I'm getting emails and all of that. Tom Trento here with CJ while you're checking on Trento Vision. We're good. Okay, we're good on trentovision.tv. We're definitely good on WNN 1470 because that's the radio side. We don't have to squeeze little pictures into a wire and make them come into your house. Just our voice travels that way. And on this beautiful 19th day of February 19th, we are Glad to be here. We have fascinating subjects. We talked about Ed Koch this past hour and his gravestone. I have a couple of lines that he wrote about himself that I want to use to segue into the next session. Our third hour, we're going to leave it open, see where things go. We got a lot of news items to discuss, but this particular hour, we're going to concentrate on a very unique and sad but positive human interest story, and an event tomorrow at our favorite school, Florida Atlantic University. So, Tea Party community, let's say hello to them, CJ. Hi, Tea Party community, everybody. Good to see you guys. That individual that's now in there, our secret guest. Let me get to our secret guest. Is he seen? Can we see our secret guest?
I can't see anything on TrentoVision, but I'm on YouTube.
Okay. Yep. Oh, TrentoVision is good, but Mr. Secret Guest, you have to come. You have to lean up. Did we get him?
Okay. Hang on 1 second.
That's good. Yeah. Here's our special guest, Thule Woltz. Say hello, Thule.
Hello.
You guys have to share that microphone.
Hello, Tom.
Good to have you here. You were here during our Ed Koch moment. Let me read this to you guys. This is very interesting. Ed himself explained what he was doing. So on January 21st last year, 2 years ago actually, this was 2 years ago, the New York Times wrote an article, and Ed Koch commented on the New York Times article on the 25th of January, a couple of days after it was written. And Ed Koch says, on January 21st, the New York Times, the newspaper of record, recalled the killing of Daniel Pearl, the Wall Street Journal reporter who was murdered by Pakistani terrorists 9 years ago. With video cameras running, this is Ed Koch writing 2 years ago. With video cameras running, the terrorists slit Daniel Pearl's throat and displayed his severed head like a trophy. You had said that earlier. The Times reported more than a dozen of the militants, Ed Koch stops, writes in brackets, why not call them Islamic terrorists instead of militants, involved in his murder remain at large, a testament to the lack of will by Pakistani authorities to prosecute the case, according to a report released Thursday. He goes on to say, Ed Koch does, the United States and Israel ought to form a special unit devoted to running down each of these terrorist murderers, target them for what? Target them for execution. The Israeli Mossad did that with those Munich murderers of the Israeli Olympic team killed in Munich in 1972. Ed Koch says, let's hunt down the killers of Daniel Pearl and execute them. Then he says, so you know the precedent for why he wrote on his tombstone what he wrote. He says, on my tombstone, this is almost 2 years to the day before he died. He wrote, on my tombstone, which awaits me, it was there 3 years earlier, 5 years ago, which awaits me at the Trinity Church Non-Denominational Cemetery at 155th Street and Amsterdam Avenue, way up there. I had inscribed the last words of Daniel Pearl, uttered at his publicly viewed murder, which were, my father is Jewish, my mother is Jewish, I am Jewish. I believe those words should be part of the annual services on the Jewish high holiday of Yom Kippur and should be repeated by the congregants. That's what he felt, Ed Koch. Okay, 888-565-1470. Right now we're moving to a similar story in some respects, an issue of Islamic terrorism, and with a good friend of ours, Thule. And welcome to the TrentoVision show. How are you?
Thank you very much. I'm very inspired by the story of Ed Koch. I didn't know that, and I think it's amazing and it's commendable, and I think there is a lot into it to put it in prayers, because we all, people of the Jewish faith are very proud, being Jewish, and it's a statement that we're here forever. You can't eliminate us.
I watched one of my favorite people. I watched a couple of short talks by Carolyn Glick this morning, and she was she was recently in Britain and delivered a message there. And so let me see if I can get this right. I mean, she's so tough at times, you know. Yeah. Let me get this right. We have 1.5 million Arab Israeli citizens. They're Arabs. They're citizens of Israel, and they live and they get rights and they do whatever they want. When you go there regularly, you know, we've seen it. But on the West Bank, we can't have a two-state solution until every last Jew who lives on the West Bank, about 750,000 people, till every last one of them is out of the territory and has nothing to do with it. Now, somebody explained to me how this is a moral argument. Every Jew has to leave, and you have nothing to do with this land here, but Arabs can be Israeli citizens in our part of the country. How's that a moral argument?
Right, and yet Israel is an apartheid state,
Israel's
right?
the apartheid
Israel
state.
is the apartheid state. And Gaza is the beacon
There
of
it is.
humanity.
There it is. Gaza's the beacon of humanity. So
don't look for any morals on that side of
or
the
common sense.
Correct.
Well, as you may or may not know, Thule, on February 6th, just, what's today, the 18th, 12 days ago. The what? 19th. The 19th. So the 6th would be 13 days ago. 13 days ago, we, Michael and Damon, who was here, they went into a Students for Justice for Palestine presentation by the charming Greta Berlin, the Marxist co-founder of the Gaza Flotilla nonsense, Free Gaza movement. And they were thrown out by one of the Muslim students there who did not want them in there, did not want them videotaping. Okay. We then went that same day, Mark, myself, CJ was there, and the police would not let us go in to videotape a message on a university campus, and a publicly advertised event, publicly advertised. So then we went back on the 6 days later, so the 12th, the 12th, and we tried to go in and listen to Josh Rubner, who was doing a teach-in on how horrible Israel is. He's an Israeli citizen, you know.
And specifically, how the American Zionists, naming specifically AIPAC, are undermining the United States of America's foreign policy by advocating for Israel instead of the United States.
So we wanted to go there.
A vast Zionist conspiracy.
To simply videotape the story and put it out to the world. All kinds of suppression, all that. You are going there tomorrow to Florida Atlantic University. Why are you going there, and what's that all about?
Two reasons, or few reasons. First, I was invited by some Jewish group who felt very strongly that they have to answer to all those events that were bashing Israel and actually bashing Jews.
Yes.
It is really, when you bash Israel, you're bashing the Jews, and that's a hidden anti-Semitic or anti-Semitism. I also felt that it's very important to talk to the students, and I hope that tomorrow I will not only have in the audience Jewish students, I hope to have all kind of denominations. They really have to hear the truth. I'm playing with my imagination, thinking, what if I just take the word Jews from the speeches that we heard before, the hate speeches of the Muslim or other people who sympathize with terrorists, just replace the word Jews with Muslim. I probably will be shot by the police, not only escort out, and will probably be sued for libel and all this nonsense. But really it's very important to talk to the kids, and also Jews. We're not preaching the choir, because I spoke to many Jewish students who have no idea what's going on, and all their information that they have came from this kind of radical groups. Yeah. And it's very sad, and I feel that it's important, and it's my duty to really inform them of the truth, and they can challenge facts. They can try to hide facts, but they cannot challenge them because they are facts.
Let me set this up for everybody that's listening, watching. Welcome to TrentoVision.tv, 17 minutes after 4 o'clock in the afternoon on the East Coast. 17 minutes after, where's that coming from? 17 minutes after 1 o'clock in California. We have a bunch of California people watching. Welcome. Even people in Israel. So it's 17 after something in Israel. 11 o'clock. Yeah, 11 o'clock right now. And on WNN 1470, if you're just tuning in your car, you're getting an early start to an early bird dinner where you can get 2 drinks for the price of 1 right now. Welcome to Tom Trento. CJ Tuli Woltz is our guest. Yucatil, right? Yucatil? Yucatil. What does that mean, Yucatil?
It's one of the prophets. I Googled it once.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, it's not a very common name.
No, that's not a common name. So you go by Tuli. How'd you get Tuli out of Yucatil?
I think it was too long for my mother to pronounce.
Oh, so she said Tuli, okay. Well, Tuli, T-U-L-Y, is here. And we haven't dived into his background yet, which prepares him for what he will be doing tomorrow. But he's going on the campus of Florida Atlantic University to be an answer to the Jew hatred that has been spewed forth over the past couple of weeks at Florida Atlantic University, in the guise of this program, international program called Israeli Apartheid Week. It used to be Israel Apartheid Week, but now it's called Israeli because why? Why?
Because it's not enough to delegitimize an entire country. You have to dehumanize all of its people as well. And then, once you've done that, they are ripe for extermination.
There you go. Moi, Tom Trento, and the United West have been on many campuses in the United States over the past 7 or 8 years, confronting the Muslim Student Association, the Muslim Student Union. A couple of years ago, we were in the California system on Israel Apartheid Week, confronting the Muslim students with their apartheid wall, trying to throw us off of campuses. We've made videos on all of that. We expose them for their lies. We go into their classrooms. We expose them for the really low-life human beings that many of these people are. They just hate Jews. They hate Jews.
That's the common denominator for all of these groups. It's
pretty wild. Well, now, here, right by where our studios are, 5 minutes from here is Florida Atlantic University. So we are going to go with Tuli tomorrow and support
You're very
you.
well invited.
Yeah. Okay. We are invited. Okay. You're not going to throw us out?
Oh, absolutely not.
Okay. Well, let's get into your background a little bit as to why the Jewish group would invite you in. You were born in Israel. What city?
Jerusalem.
You born in Jerusalem?
I'm the 7th generation Israeli.
Oh, really?
On my mother's side.
7 generations. So do the math. What year did the Woltz family?
It's actually my mother's side.
Oh, yeah, my mother's side. Yeah.
I would say it's about 160 years.
Wow.
150 years.
She was in Jerusalem.
Absolutely.
Whoever it was on your
Jerusalem,
mother's side.
and also Tzfat, which is a northern city. They tried to go there.
You can prove that?
Oh, easily.
So we have at least one Jew.
So you're not an occupier.
No, I'm not an occupier. I'm a legitimate citizen of Israel, of the Jewish state.
Now, you were born after 48.
Yes, I was born after 48. Not too long after that. And
you remember life? Well, how old were you when you left?
I was about 26 years old.
Oh, so you grew up there.
I grew up there.
Did you have to go into the military?
Yes, after it's mandatory after the high school years is over, you go to the 3 years of military, and if you go through some different training, you have to stay a little longer. So I stayed 4 years in the military.
And what did you do in the military in Israel?
Don't like to talk about it, but I was in a very interesting unit. One of the most interesting units that I was serving is artillery, a special kind of unit on artillery, and the less we talk about it, the better.
Nobody's listening. It's just you and me.
Oh, yes.
Nobody out there. There's nobody out there.
That's what you usually say when you're talking to the bad guys.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Now the good guys. But no, we won't go where you don't want to go. But were you involved in any of the wars?
My first big encounter was, of course, the 1973 war. I was already in officer school, and I was called back to my unit. That war really left me thinking a lot and feeling that my home is not safe at any time.
So you were born in Jerusalem. Your family goes back 150 years. You served your country at wartime. You fought in a war. What did you do after you got out of the military?
After the military, I went to work for some big corporation, but it was not for me. And I started becoming air marshal for the Israeli Airlines.
Oh.
And
El Al?
The Israeli Airlines, and I trained sky marshals all over the world.
Oh, did you really?
Yes, it was very interesting for me.
Oh, that would be interesting. And that was, that would be in the 80s?
Late 70s, beginning.
So we have,
80s,
when was the first, well, we had terrorism. The PLO was all over the place then.
Correct.
So you were training people, and there was a very serious threat of hijacking going on.
Correct. It's ongoing threat till very today.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Oh, no, I mean, when I fly a lot, right? I used to before we started doing this show. I know everybody that's flying with me. I got them all figured out. I profile from the second I get in the airport, through the flight, through everything else. I see the people that I gotta, in case there's trouble, I'm calling that guy with the Alabama football shirt on, who's 400 pounds. I'm calling that guy over there, and maybe that lady over there. She looks like she can handle herself. And we'll do whatever has to take place. But no, I mean, this is an ongoing threat. I often say, if the TSA said tomorrow our job is done and walked off the job, first, who would go on an airplane? A, and B, how long would it be before they start falling out of the sky? I ask this in front of groups. Mm-hmm. And they say very quickly, I say, why are they going to fall out of the sky? Muslim terrorists are going to blow them up. Everybody knows that.
Oh, really?
Nobody says Jewish radicals are going to set themselves on fire in an airplane,
Right.
Christian
light their underwear.
Christian mystics are going to pray the plane into the ground. It's Muslim terrorists are going to blow the plane up. It's the world we live in.
There's no other type of terrorism that will sacrifice their own lives, who they don't value much, in order to kill others.
Okay, so you've fought in a war, then you've trained people to protect Israeli citizens and any citizen that's on El Al, and then you make your way to the United States of America. What was 888-565-1470? If you want to talk to Tuli Wills, who's really led a fascinating life, 888-565-1470. You're showing Crossing the Line tomorrow. What is that all about?
Crossing the Line is a movie that showing how jihad is coming to the campuses in the United States, and very successfully.
What word did he just say?
He just said jihad.
Jihad.
No jihad word allowed in the United States of America by President
especially
Obama.
on
Yes.
campus.
Yes.
You see, I have dual citizenship, so
Oh, okay.
I'm invoking my Israeli citizenship here.
Okay.
Unfortunately, they are very well financed and very, very violent. People are afraid of them. People are afraid of even asking question directed to them or directed to the university authority. The authorities are afraid to do anything or something about these hate groups that come to poison the students of America. Eventually, it will catch up in America. If we don't do anything about it, it will catch up. I just read an article that in recently published survey in Le Monde, which is a French major
the Day or the Dailies,
like the New York Times, it revealed that 74% of French people hold position hostile to Muslims and Islam. They reject Islam as intolerant and incompatible with the French society. Now, can you imagine this would be published in America?
That's pretty amazing because the French, for many years, have just said, live and let live. Yeah, come on in. They work here, this and that.
No, they get welfare.
There's 750 banned areas. Me, and him stood at Rue Rivoli in front of the Louvre with not 1, 2, or 3, but 20,000 Hamas Hezbollah
supporters.
It wasn't even
supporters.
Protesters / animals.
Yeah.
With spewing. I was with some Jewish folks who said, "Do not speak. Do not let them hear you speak. You're a Westerner. You will be in serious trouble." It was a frightening moment in my life. My back was against the Iron Gate going into the Louvre, and I know enough that not to be where you can't escape, So I went on the other side of the street, but they'd have these gigantic puppet heads coming down that were maybe 10 feet high and all paper mache, big Jewish faces, with all swastikas on it, and unbelievable. Went on for an hour and a half, and the crowd went down to the opera, and then they started burning the Israeli flag, started burning the U.S. flag, and I said, "This is crazy." That was right after Operation Cast Lead, January 2009. I was there in 2009. Frightening to say the least.
Tom, I have a question. What if you just went there and burned Egyptian or Palestinian flag right there?
Yeah.
Yeah, he would have been murdered.
Would have been killed. You would have been killed in a second. In a second.
And it's worse than that, because if you needed police protection from the mob coming after you for exercising the same free speech that they do, the police would take you away, arrest you, and ask you, why are you inciting a riot and inciting violence by demonstrating with an American flag or with an Israeli flag, or why are you burning an Egyptian flag or a Palestinian flag?
Yeah,
and that's what they do on campuses too, to the Jewish students who try to speak up for their rights against these Jew haters on the campuses, and the campus authorities ask them, why are they instigating to cause these Muslims and their supporters to come after them and threaten them, and they should shut up and go back to their rooms and not show that they're Jewish, is what they're told.
I think we have to put an end to that. This article goes on and said 62% of the French people say they do not feel more at home in their home. I don't want it to happen here. I'm an American, for over 20 years now. This is my home, and I want to feel at home. I'm not afraid. I was never afraid, but I'm angry, and I'm doing something about it. And I'll talk to kids, and I'll talk to students, and inform them of what is going on. And if they want to live in a Sharia law state, I'm sure somebody will provide them a ticket to Saudi Arabia.
Get the hell out of here. Go wherever you
or
want.
Gaza.
Yeah, sure, yeah. Yeah, that's the trick. Been to France several times and through different, the years. And that's really a strange article because this is kind of new since that big march in 2009, since the burning of all those cars. Remember all of that? Thousands of cars. Still doing it. Still the banned areas. All of these things, the French are slowly starting to wake up, and there is a resistance movement there that's coming alive. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But you're right. All right, now let's do a couple things. We have
Well, we have somebody on the line, but before that, who produced this film that you're going to be showing? And tell us a little bit about that, and then maybe we can get into a little bit of how you started to get involved with this, with the education and everything else.
Well, the film was produced by Raphael Shore and Wayne Copping. They've been producing a few movies before, like Obsession, like Uranium. All their movies are really meant to get the attention of people, not only students, but the citizen of United States of America, to the real threat that is not only going on in those countries, far, far away. It's at home, and we are in danger. And that's why they're doing it. They're patriotic Americans, and they try to wake up everybody here before it's going to be too late and before we're not going to feel home. Safe at home.
So crossing the line means you've crossed the line of civility into what? Into
incitement. There is no more freedom of speech issue here. You really incite. You say kill the Jews.
Yeah.
Kill the Jews. If I say kill the Muslim, I'll be jailed.
Sure. Yeah.
But is it allowed to say kill the Jews in America? I have a problem with that.
Yeah, no, it's
and
understandable.
We'll go very far.
The full disclosure, I helped these guys through the years and helped out with that. And I think some of our footage is in there that we shot in Fort Lauderdale.
Correct.
I think they put some of that in there too.
Jews go to the oven.
Yep. No big deal. Go to the oven, So tomorrow night, 6:30, Florida Atlantic University. If somebody wants to come and listen to you're going to do a little presentation
at Hillel.
You're going to show the movie. What time will they be out of there? If they have to, couple hours.
42 hours.
6:30, 8:30. Open it up for Q&A at the Hillel Room on campus at Florida Atlantic University. Just ask where the Hillel Room. Hillel is what?
It's really a Jewish organization to help Jewish students to get like kosher food or get into prayers, synagogue, and support. Jewish support.
Okay, Alan Bergstein sees it a little differently, but what is this open to the public?
It's open to anybody.
So it's a public event open to the public. Okay.
Correct.
Can Muslim students come and listen?
Absolutely.
Sure.
Maybe they'll hear the truth for once.
Yeah, the truth. Okay. Well, let's bring our next caller on, and then I got some more questions for you because we haven't gotten into a very.
Our next caller is Holly.
Hi, Holly. You're with Tom and CJ and Thule and Mike.
Yes, hi. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I'm so glad to hear your guest. Uh-oh.
Hi, Holly.
We're here.
Uh-oh. Hi, here you go. I'm very glad to hear your guest and hear what he's doing. I'm actually in Northern California, but I grew up in Los Angeles in North Hollywood, and we had so many friends who were, grandchildren perhaps of people who were from the Jewish Holocaust or whatever. And I never got into the depths of any detail. Some also, Russian immigrants from Jewish, Russian Jews. And these were my friends. I can't even fathom that anybody in this day and age would be saying, kill the Jews like it's normal. It is actually not okay, as you guys know. It is not okay in the United States of America. I don't have to tell you that, but it's like it's not normal. And it's not us. And I really thank you for letting these kids know that, we should not do this? And also just, I mean, it's like not okay on campuses, and the university people should not allow it. And that also one of the concerns here is we have this one acting as the, alleged commander-in-chief of the armed services, including these people that he's appointing, including Hagel and all these people who have these really close associations with the Islamic Jihad type people, including the Muslim Brotherhood, that from the whole Holy Land Foundation thing, and they're saying, oh, it's not a problem. Like this Hagel guy who scrubbed all of these, any reference to the word Islamic Jihad in our military things. I mean, I'm kind of talking, general here and there.
Yeah,
and everywhere, but it's
what do you do?
really a
Holly,
problem.
Holly, what do you do? What kind of work do you do?
Oh, gosh. Well, I'm a mom. I'm one of these off-the-chart unemployed. Like, I'm not even unemployed. I've been so long off the charts, I don't even count in your 16% thing.
Okay, yeah, we did that yesterday.
Yeah, right. 8 plus 8. Well, I'm even way beyond that. I haven't I've given up looking for a job. I think it was like 10 years ago. But in the meantime, I'm still willing. No, I try every once in a while, but after they reject me, it's kind of sad. And then, but anyway, I'm a daughter of a World War II veteran.
Oh.
My dad recently died, unfortunately, a couple years ago. He was a rear seat gunner, U.S. Marine, and he was making a tribute to his fellow Marines. And I've been a preschool teacher and blah, 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 But, and I've been a kind of a chronic student for a while there, too. And so...
well, we want you to keep listening, and we're gonna continue with Thule because we're gonna now go into a very important chapter in his life.
Yeah, but the students are key. Thank you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Holly from Northern California.
Berkeley is one of the largest and strongest stronghold of the Palestinian or the jihadist movement in the campuses of the United States of America.
Berkeley is what you really mean. Hatem Bazian
I just want to
teaches
make
up
one
there.
point about these student protesters, these Jew haters on campus. Is for years and years and years now, we're hearing the ridiculous statement that they're not anti-Semitic, they don't hate Jews. Really, they just oppose the policies of the Israeli government, and they're anti-Zionist. Okay. Well, I have a quote here from going back to the 1960s. When people criticize Zionists, they mean Jews. You are talking anti-Semitism, okay? And that is Martin Luther King at Harvard University in 1968. So you Jew haters who are saying, oh, you just oppose the policies of the Israeli government, which you claim is apartheid, which is an out-and-out lie, you are just Jew haters. You're not anti-Zionist. You're not anti-Israeli. You're anti-Jew, and you want to kill them all, and you want to take away the state of Israel from the Jews. End of story.
But CJ, that is for the Muslim Student Association and those guys. They're all hanging in a room right now, listening. They're cheering what you just said. That's exactly what they believe, and that's their badge of honor.
That's their badge of honor.
Behind the
scenes.
And
the stupid liberals, the Christians and the Jews, who are liberals first before they are Christians, before they are Jews, need to recognize that when they hear this garbage on campuses, what they're hearing is Jew hatred and not to excuse it. They need to know what it is. They need to pay attention to what's on Ed Koch's headstone.
Absolutely, and that's a scam. They that's their real belief, but their propaganda, their message to America has to be leftist, has to be couched in all the peace and love, and we know. I mean, we know the United West. We know everybody in this room knows.
Tom, it's also a question of money. They pour money into the people, and most of the propaganda that is being brought to colleges are not by students. They are paid Muslim and non-Muslim Jew haters who come to college and spread their hate.
Well, again, we've spent a lot of time over the years on campuses, did a lot of work with David Horowitz and his campus outreach. And whenever we would find a young Jewish student or Christian who's 18, 19 years old to sponsor one of us as a speaker or a film, they would inevitably, invariably get frightened away by the masculine men with big beards that were the Muslim students. And they would literally call us back after 2 weeks of organizing an event. 3 weeks from now, they'd say, we're too frightened to do this. We're too frightened to do this. Because every little Christian kid and every little Jewish kid isn't there to fight a jihad. They're there to get a degree and then go be productive in the world. And we know that many of the Muslim Student Association people are Saudi operations officers, intelligence officers, that are put there to school these people and work their dawah program. We know that, and they're there for 10 years taking phony baloney courses. Oh boy! Well, let's go into, before we take the next call. So far, we're here with Tuli Woltz, who is speaking tomorrow at Florida Atlantic University, showing the film "Crossing the Line," which is a film about the jihad, the Intifada, comes to the campus. The Jew hatred comes to the campus. If you're interested in that, you can give us a call at the office, at the studio here, 888-565-1470. We can give you more information. You can write to me, Tom, at trentovision.tv. We will be there with Tuli tomorrow. He's going to do a little presentation, show the movie, open it up for Q&A. It's open to the public. Tomorrow, 6:30, Wednesday, the 20th. Now,
if you're also, I would just like to add that if you're not able to attend Tuli's presentation at FAU tomorrow night, but you are interested in the film, you can visit campusintifada.com for information on how to get the DVD or to hold a screening in your community or in your home.
campusintifada.com. We've established, if you've been watching and been sentient in the past hour, that Tuli was born in Jerusalem. His family's been there for 14,000 years. He was with Moses, his family, back then. And he went into the service, served his nation, was in the 73 Yom Kippur War, then went on to help train air marshals in El Al, and then came to the United States and got involved in business and all of that. But we haven't gotten back. So we've established his credentials as an Israeli. He's an American Israeli dual citizenship, as an individual who has put his life on his line for his country. We haven't gotten into what occurred in April of 2006. Why don't you just take us back to Tel Aviv for a minute?
Well, it was Passover, 2006. My family, which included my wife, my son, Daniel, and myself, went to Israel to celebrate Passover with my Israeli family. We took a side trip to Tel Aviv, and we found a kosher restaurant that was kosher for Passover. That was April 17. We went to lunch at a place called Rosh Ha'ir, a little shawarma place that serves shawarma on matzah instead of a pita. We sat down, enjoying our shawarma. It was my son Daniel and I, when I would like to say young man, but I can't describe it as a man, a young animal, but he looked like a young man, came right behind Daniel outside and asked to enter the restaurant. The guard, who is in every restaurant in Israel, asked that person to open his backpack. And for some reason, my brain was sleeping, because looking at 6 years later, I know that the backpack was unusually heavy, and he had to put it on the floor, on the sidewalk. When the guard asked him to open the backpack, that person had an evil smile. I can remember it as if it happened a minute ago. He had an evil smile while he was pretending going down for his backpack. At that point, I understood. A little too late, but I understood. That backpack was full of explosive. I tried to get up from my seat and jump on Daniel, but the blast threw me back on the floor and actually threw Daniel on me. Daniel was very badly injured. I was too, but I wasn't that bad. Daniel actually took most of the shrapnels in his body. It's a beautiful body of 16-and-a-half-year-old athlete. And he was lying on me, covered with body parts from all over. The whole area became very silent. I lost my hearing almost completely, but I could hear Daniel screaming, "Dad, pick me up, pick me up." I couldn't. I would just lay him down on the floor. My leg was partially away from me, so I couldn't stand up. I lay him down on the floor and I told him, "Daniel, we were injured. Stay calm. Help will come very fast." Well, miraculously, with the help of unbelievable doctors at Ichilov Hospital, Daniel survived 27 days. On the 27th day, he died. That was Mother's Day 2006. Yep.
That's almost 7 years ago. What is your main thought when you've recited that situation many times since then? You've started a foundation. What goes through your mind when you relive that moment?
Unfortunately, I relive the moment about 100 times a day. At night, nightmares. I just thinking how I didn't notice that the guy was a terrorist. How my brain didn't catch it. And I guess I play in my brain's different scenario where I told Daniel to lie down on the floor and everything was fine. But unfortunately, the reality is different. And it was very difficult for all our family. Daniel was a very special boy. And, today we're talking about another Daniel who was a victim, Daniel Pearl. And I wouldn't say it's our Daniel because Daniel Pearl was also our Daniel. Daniel Waltz was very dear to us, very special. We were very close. And of course, at the beginning, I was angry at everything. But I had, my father came right away to tell me something very powerful. As I said, my mother is sixth generation in Israel. I'm the seventh. My father is a Holocaust survivor. And he lost almost his entire family besides his twin sister and her family that survived. He told me, "Tuli, I went through hell. You know that. And not only in the Holocaust, I fought. When I came to Israel, they gave me a gun and I fought to survive in Israel. And I was a prisoner of war in Jordan as well. So I went through hell. But I made a commitment I chose life. And that's how I brought you into this world. You choose life and do good in this world. Make sure it doesn't happen again. Well, I always listen to my dad. So I chose life. It wasn't easy. Sometimes I think maybe it wasn't a smart move. Most of the time I think why it was me not who stayed alive, not Daniel. He deserved much more than me. But my commitment is to make sure it doesn't happen again. And of course we started, my wife and I and my daughter, we started the foundation, the Daniel Cantor Waltz Foundation, where we try to send the message to especially youngsters. Don't give in to bullies. That's a bad thing, because if you give in to bullies today, you'll survive today, but tomorrow, that's the end. Stand up to them. And we're still trying to do that, and we are doing it somehow successful, I hope. I hope we send a good message or convince some guys that were on the fence that listen to the past, don't listen to propaganda. And of course, on the other end, we sued the people who were responsible for that horrible incident.
You sued the people? Can you hang over for the next hour?
Sure.
A little bit, anyway.
Sure.
Because the foundation. I want to get into the foundation you guys started a little bit, and then you chose life. That doesn't mean you roll over and become a punching bag. You chose life, but you fought back, and you're fighting back through the court system. And I think that is just we have a movie here, you know. Yeah. I think that's just an amazing situation. But before we close this out, you're going to have to hold everybody over.
Yeah, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, we'll get everybody in the next hour, but I didn't want to interrupt Thule. You do realize, Thule, and you do realize that you're not a superhero like in the movies where you jump in front of a 40-pound bomb, and you miraculously save people. And 56 people were injured, 11 people died.
64 people were
64, and 11 died. Daniel was the last one to die, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. There was nothing you could have done, so you can't beat yourself up over that. Even if you saw something or other, plus the way I have come to understand these sort of things is God has a plan. God has a perfect plan, and there's evil people in the world, and they can upset to a degree the perfect plan, but then His plan can still be worked out if people try to follow His will, and that's what I've seen in your life, since this. So you're here for a reason, and we all know that, and you are impacting many, many lives, not just what you and your wife do, but I think this lawsuit is going to be a historic moment in fighting the jihad worldwide. So stay tuned. We're going to take a little bit of a break, and you're not going to believe this lawsuit that Thule has filed against Syria, Iran, and China, right?
Bank of China.
The Bank of China. Syria, Iran, and the Bank of China. Don't miss the next hour. I'll jump ahead and tell you. He won, okay? Stay tuned.
Thanks for tuning into Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Tom Trento can be reached at 561-319-5533 or Tom at TrentoVision.tv. And tune in again weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. The bond between a child and a horse is special. When that child is physically or mentally challenged, the results are magical. Horses and the Handicapped of South Florida has been providing equine-assisted therapy to hundreds of children, the majority of which could never afford this highly beneficial therapy on their own. It's a great cause, and here's a great way to help. Grab your boots and join us on Friday, March 1st at 7 p.m. at Ron Bergeron's Green Glades Ranch in Weston for the 3rd annual Wild West Night. This fun and exciting evening will feature great food and drink. Try an alligator Ron, live music with the Barron Sisters and the Andrews Morris Band. A live and silent auction featuring a Taylor Swift autographed guitar, live writing demonstrations, and much, much more. It's all to celebrate the legacy of Megan Morency. And all the proceeds go to Horses and the Handicapped. Wild Wild West Night, Friday, March 1st. For tickets, visit hhsfl.org. That's hhsfl.org.
What's wrong with your face? If you're over 30 and experience facial redness, it could be an early warning sign of rosacea. It's a common, embarrassing, and often life-disruptive facial disorder that usually gets worse without medical help. Rosacea often begins as flushing or redness on the face that comes and goes. Over time, the redness becomes ruddier and more persistent, and tiny blood vessels may appear. Without treatment, bumps and pimples often develop, and in some people, the eyes may become watery or bloodshot. In advanced cases, the symptoms grow increasingly severe, and the nose may become red and swollen from excess tissue. 16 million Americans have rosacea, yet only a small fraction are being treated. Why let these symptoms wreak havoc on your personal or professional life? Don't ignore the warning signs. Rosacea can easily be treated. See a dermatologist or visit the National Rosacea Society at rosacea.org.
My name is Meera Batra. I have been in this country 32 years, and this is how I live united. America has always been the land of promise, and in my community, many families have come for a better life. Coming from another culture myself, I know the desire to become part of a community, to feel at home, and to gain the tools for our children and families to succeed. So I advocate for these families with United Way. United Way empowers them to look beyond their histories and to see what opportunities are available. We help them get involved with their kids' schools, network within the community, and when we do, we unite them. We make the community stronger. What I do is something I wish someone had done for me, and I am so grateful I am able to. My name is Meera Batra. I help families see opportunities and succeed. I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
This is Health and Wealth Radio, AM 1470, WWNN Pompano Beach, and WKIS HD3, Boca Raton, Miami, Fort Lauderdale.
Rampage southeast of Los Angeles that left 3 people dead. They say the search for the gunman ended when he shot himself to death in a stolen car as police closed in. There were at least 2 carjackings and several reports of shootings or people being shot at. Authorities are processing a half dozen crime scenes. This is IRN USA Radio News.
It's the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. Holding my baby as he struggled for every breath, not knowing whether he'd have the strength to make it. When they rushed him into ICU, I was so scared, but I never felt alone. The Lord's presence was there with me, and the Medi-Share members were amazing. They took care of the doctor bills, they prayed, and they gave me peace when I needed it most. My son is doing great, praise God. How blessed we are to have the support of the Medi-Share community, really reflecting the love of Christ.
Learn how thousands of Christians can help you save on your health care. For your free information guide, call 866-89-BIBLE. Not available in Kentucky or Montana. Medishare, affordable biblical health care. Call 866-89-BIBLE. That's 866-89-BIBLE.
The changing nature of the Afghan war is reflected in the UN's annual report on civilian casualties. Here's Warren Levinson.
The United Nations reports 2,754 civilians were killed in the Afghan war last year. That's a 12% drop from 2011, the first such decrease in 6 years. But deaths rose in the second half of the year from the same period a year earlier, and the number of U.S. drone strikes increased sharply, killing at least 16 civilians. Civilian casualties at the hands of American and international forces dropped in half for the year, but the number of targeted killings and bombings by the Taliban and other militant groups rose sharply as the Afghan government worked to extend its control beyond the capital.
The Supreme Court says the U.S. court system doesn't lose jurisdiction in international custody disputes simply because the child involved is no longer in the country. The unanimous ruling today is the latest in the battle between a U.S. soldier and his estranged Scottish wife. They're arguing over custody of their 6-year-old daughter, who has been living in Scotland for more than a year. For the latest news and analysis, log on to IRNUSAnews.com.
You know those commercials that have been on for years and years about Andy Willoughby's 3-step plan home business system? You know, the hi, how in the world are you anyway guy? Took me almost 10 years to call. I finally did, just out of curiosity. I was really surprised. This is a business I can make a real income with. And the best part, I don't have to talk my family and friends into doing anything. It's that easy. Call 800-480-2102 or online at 3stepusa.com.
The girlfriend of South African double amputee track star Oscar Pistorius has been mourned at a memorial service, even as prosecutors and lawyers for Pistorius spelled out their competing versions of her shooting death in a courtroom in Pretoria. 6 pallbearers carried the coffin of Reva Steenkamp into a church for a private service. In court, meanwhile, Pistorius said in a statement read by his lawyer that he thought he was shooting at an intruder when he killed Steenkamp, who was behind a closed bathroom door. Prosecutors say the killing was deliberate. Show a weapons permit and get a discount on your pizza. Our correspondent John Russell explains.
Would-be armed robbers and other scalawags would be well advised to avoid plying their criminal trade at the All Around Pizza and Deli in Virginia Beach, Virginia. The popular eatery is offering a 15% discount to customers who show a weapons carry permit. Owner Jay Lays says that since the policy went into effect last Friday, 80% of his clientele have used the discount. So far, there have been no incidents involving firearms and no holdups.
A 7-year decline in traffic deaths in the U.S. has come to an end. The National Safety Council says traffic fatalities surged 5% last year. According to an analysis of preliminary state data, the 7 years of declines had brought the number to its lowest level in more than 6 decades. The National Safety Council says it estimates there were 36,200 motor vehicle fatalities in 2012. That's up from 34,600 deaths the previous year. With IRN USA Radio News,
Here's some great news from Tom Trento, host of the daily WNN Trento Vision Show. Due to the unparalleled success of the Trento Vision Show, you now have an amazing opportunity to advertise on the Trento Vision Show. If you want more information about this excellent opportunity for your business, please contact Tom Trento at 561-319-5533, or you can email him, tom@trentovision.tv. The opinions expressed on the following sponsored program are strictly those of the host, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors. Welcome to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Trento Vision is hosted by Tom Trento. Tom can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. Listen and watch every weekday from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN and trentovision.tv. Now, let's get a peek at Tom's view of the world. Here's Tom Trento.
Alrighty, we're back on a absolutely nice day outside. A little rough in here. A little, the subject matter, if you've been following the show, is a little tough. And particularly the little break we had in here with 2 fathers who lost kids. A little tough. But life goes on. You've proved, Thule Woltz, that life goes on. Hi, this is Tom Trento, Trento Vision. If you're watching, TrentoVision.tv. You can watch our show. Our show is dedicated to dealing with national security issues, defending the U.S. Constitution, standing with Israel, fighting Islamic Jihad. And in the midst of all of that is, not that, in the midst of all of that is a president gone wild. He's gone wild in a controlled fashion with his smooth, slick, kind of hip manner. And where the new word that's being used quite a bit now, low information voters, or no information voters, as I prefer to say, are allowing him to change America right before our very eyes. So our job here at Trento Vision, WNN 1470, is to make America aware of the foundational documents in this country, the United States Constitution, and make everyone aware, not just for the sense of being aware of the devious nature. It's not even devious anymore. The direct nature at which this president attacks those documents. And many people say it's time for the Constitution and the Federalist Papers to be attacked, like that caller Patrick. Yeah. Oh, those are old things. We have a new guy here. Well, our job on this show is to say, which kind of world do we want? The world that provided the number one country in the world, or the principles that have destroyed, when implemented, every single country that had any stature when you move into these socialistic principles? That's what we're here to do. But in the midst of all of that, we have a bunch of people that want to kill us. And Ed Koch in our first hour had no problem calling them Muslim terrorists. Those words will never come out of the president's mouth. And there's an obligation in federal law where if you are the commander-in-chief and you swear, you take an oath and swear to defend the Constitution, you have an obligation to understand the enemies that you're fighting. You can't say, I don't know what this is about. Benghazi? Wow, what is that all about? You can't do that. You have an obligation, or you're not only are you willfully blind, but the federal law you violate is misprision of treason. You can consider being treasonous if you aren't properly equipped to understand the enemy threat that is attacking the United States. We have Ed Koch, who's buried now, but left a legacy saying Muslim terrorists are out killing Jews. We have an individual in here right now who's been telling us the story of him being a victim of a Muslim terrorist attack in Israel, in Tel Aviv, at a nice restaurant. A year ago, almost to the week, I was at that same restaurant. We took a film crew and went to tape right in front of it to do the story that we did. And it was a very strange experience because I'm very familiar with Thule Woltz's story, and then being there, cutting a piece right in the exact spot where you were. That was bizarre. But the reality is, folks, sadly, we all wish this didn't happen. It's real. There's an ideology out there, Islamic Jihad, Sharia, hates Jews, hates Christians, hates Westerners. It has to subdue the world. We don't make this stuff up. Some people fight back. We here at Trento Vision, the United West, we fight back ideologically. Some people fight with guns. You've seen our friends in here who have lost children to the kinetic end in combat. Billy Vaughn, Aaron Vaughn, his son. Some people fight back by trying to educate Americans, educate people worldwide to not hate, but to try to respect one another and be peaceful. You have a foundation. What's your foundation's name? How can people get in touch with you? And what's the purpose of the foundation?
Well, the foundation name is Daniel Cantor Woltz Foundation, and it's www.dcw.org.
Daniel Cantor Woltz Foundation.
DCWFoundation.org.
Okay.
And they can email us there. They can contact us by phone, by email. And we, as I said, we are educating students and adults about what is really going on, and in America, not far away, because 5 years before Daniel was killed by Muslim terrorists in Tel Aviv, a cousin was killed in 9/11.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I don't think I knew that.
He was the first one to jump from the second tower.
Kidding me?
Yeah. He was working for Cantor and Fitzgerald.
Okay, yeah.
And it
Is that
happened
the
here.
Cantor part? Daniel Cantor?
No,
that's a different Cantor.
It's a different
Okay,
Cantor.
I know.
And it happened 5,000 miles
Yeah.
away from where Daniel was killed. And it happened in the United States of America. And I just want to add something. Muslim terrorists are not only killing Jews, they're killing anybody who is not like them.
That's right.
And it's not, Jews are only the cover story, the cover-up story. They really want, and they say it very openly, they don't hide it. They say it very openly, we will control the world. And if you don't obey them, you're gone.
And you personally came probably within inches. I mean, the shrapnel in those bombs, it was, did you ever get the forensic information, what kind of bomb and all of that?
I let the lawyers do that, and I'm not really interested to see how...
But it was packed with all the nails.
Nails and
stuff.
little bullets and rat poison.
They poisonous stuff.
Correct.
Yeah, you again, by the grace of God. So if you're breathing, you are. I mean, you have a purpose on this earth. What do you think your purpose is?
I'm a little confused again why I'm still here. But I feel that what my father said, go on with life, choose life, he didn't only mean that I'll just go and live and be happy ever after, which I will never be able to. He meant save lives of other people. And I'm trying very hard to make sure that people will stand up to the danger and will fight back to the danger. And I'm not asking people to kill. I'm not a Muslim that incite for killing, or and I'm sure not all Muslims are incite for killings. But what you see on the TV and what you see on the movies and what you see on the streets in demonstration is incitement for murder. And I'm trying to combat that.
Well, for whatever it's worth, as you consider the grand scheme in your life, your grand purpose, when I first met you, which was end of 2006, I think, when I went to, I saw a little flyer that you were speaking on, showing the movie Obsession: Radical Islam's War Against the West. And you were speaking on, a terrorist event that had happened. I drove down to Miami and went into the, I think it was a synagogue, and sat in the back and listened. And do you remember? I came up to you after that.
I remember it very well, very well. I was very impressed. I was kind of naive at that time, and here somebody's coming to the synagogue and presenting himself as a good Christian man that was very touched by what happened, but very well aware of the danger. And ever since then, I love you.
Yeah, I love you too, man. And for whatever it's worth, I was fundamentally changed that night by your experience and what happened. And I would, without question, one of the driving forces in whatever I do is your story. I could not do what I do, good, bad, or indifferent, to the degree I do it if it wasn't for what you went through. So whatever that's worth, whatever influence I may have in the world on this issue, I owe a great portion of it to you. But this is the way things work. This is the way things work, and when I get down, because this is very difficult work, as you know. People hate you. There's no money in it. People want to kill you. We get death threats, all of that. The only way you can do this is you just got to do it. And the stuff that keeps me doing it is your situation. So let's move on. I did as you know, we don't know, we put a video together. So I spent a lot of time learning about your son, and I feel I know him pretty well, you know?
You sure do.
Okay. I'm reading here on May 12th. Okay. May 16th, 2012. I'm going to read the headline, then we're going to start taking some calls, okay? Wolt's family wins blank against Iran and Syria over terrorist attacks. So you sued Iran and Syria, and you won. You sued over this. A Weston, Florida family has won a landmark court decision against Iran and Syria. This is a little less than a year ago, 6 years after their son was killed by a suicide bomber in Tel Aviv. You won a judgment against Iran and Syria, $323 million.
332.
330. They transposed it in the Sun Sentinel article. What's 10 million or so among friends, you know? Now, we all know a judgment is a judgment, and you may never see a penny of that. But let's take some calls. And I don't know if there's anybody out there that makes movies. This guy's story, you got about 4 movies in this. That would be, you talk about a compelling movie to motivate people to do the right thing. It's your life, let me tell you. Who do we have?
First, we have Judah on the line, I believe.
Hi, Judah. You with Tom and CJ and Thule.
And Mike.
Yes, hi. As I'm listening to Thule's recounting the bombing attack at the restaurant, you go through so many mixed feelings of, pain and anger, but anyway, I wanted to say to you, Thule, that may God avenge your son's innocent blood and the blood of Daniel Pearl and all the victims of suicide bombings.
Thank you, Judah.
My question is, what is your fondest memory of Daniel?
It's going to be a cry fest here today.
No, I'll tell you, Judah. We need about a year. But one of the main things that I loved about Daniel, besides his gorgeous smile, was his love for people. He just loved people, and he was very adamant about always making sure that everybody is equal. And he was so naive that he used to go, with his yarmulke, which we call in Hebrew kippah, the head cover, anywhere in the world, France, England, wherever we went. And he wasn't doing it in your face. He just said, Dad, I respect everybody. I'm sure they are respecting me. And that's the essence of the whole foundation. He felt it, and we feel that everybody should be respected. But if you want to be respected, you have to respect others. That's in a few words about Daniel.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Judah.
Thank you.
Anybody else there?
Danita. Danita on the line.
Hi, Danita.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Hi,
Danita. Hi, how are you?
Hello. Well, I just want to say a few things. I met Thule and his precious wife at a Steve Emerson event Tom, that you put on, and I was sitting at a table with people I didn't even know. I didn't know that that's who they were. I had followed Daniel's story in the newspaper, and when he was being cared for and in the hospital and so on, I assumed that, like his father, he was going to live. And I remember being at my friend's house, who's Jewish, and reading it right then. And I said, "Oh my God, Daniel died." And she said, "Yeah, I read it earlier." Oh my God. So I wept, openly wept. I've got a son just a little bit older. He's been to Afghanistan and Iraq, and he'll be getting out of the Marine Corps in July. But in the meantime, before I met Tuli, I used to carry a sign when we would protest against Hamas, and it said, and I've got it sitting right in front of me, I'll never let anything happen to it. It said, "Americans murdered by Islamists." 1985, Leon Klinghoffer.
Yeah.
Yes.
2002, David Pearl. Was it David or Daniel?
Daniel.
Daniel. 2006, Daniel Counter Volts. And at the bottom, I have the American flag and the Israeli flag, and it says protect and defend. And I'm telling you, when I hear this man talk, it just all comes back to me. And I didn't know him. I did not know him. But I was so involved emotionally and in all my senses with Daniel. And I got to tell you something, Tuli. The thing that I always say about Billy Vaughn, I could hardly look the man in his eye because his son didn't come back and mine did until the day he stood up and he said, "But I'm going to tell you this, I serve a just God." And that's all I have.
Thank you,
Okay,
Danita.
thank you.
Thank you very much. You know,
Goodbye. Oh, go ahead.
Interesting that you didn't know us, but you followed Daniel. While we were in the hospital for 27 days, we received thousands of emails from people. 99% of them, we didn't know the people, from all over the world. And they're mostly were very encouraging, besides emails that we got from, again, Muslim people who wished Daniel to die. Some of them called him the dog, some of them called him the pig.
Oh my God.
And there was no other hate email but from Muslim
my God.
writers. So, and of course, the night Daniel died, the mother of the suicide bomber went on Al Jazeera TV.
Al Jazeera.
Yes, praising Allah for the death of the dog, and can't wait to send her daughters to follow suit, follow her
Well,
sons.
I have no idea how you have love in your heart.
No, they don't.
They did the same thing after 9/11, you know, when they danced in the streets about the deaths and so on. I don't have any love. I don't. You know, God calls us to love, and it's very difficult for me, but I know this.
No,
I
you're
love
not.
you
You're not
deeply.
supposed to love them. You're supposed to contain them and love the rest of the people and protect them from those
Absolutely.
evils.
Okay, thank you, Danita. We appreciate it.
So long. Bye.
Yeah, 888-565-1470 if you'd like to speak to Tuli Woltz. And we're recounting a very difficult day in April 2006. What was the date?
Well, the date of the bombing was April 17th, and the day Daniel died was May 14th.
14th, yeah, Mother's Day. He died
Yes.
on Mother's Day. Unbelievable. We're recounting Ed Koch's statement to the world on his gravestone that Muslim terrorism is an issue to be dealt with. And we don't need to qualify in this show. We've qualified it 100 times. We're not talking about all Muslims, obviously. Any Muslim that wants to assimilate into America and become an American Muslim, hey, we're with you. You know, I'm an American Italian. You're an American Israeli, and I mean that's fine. But if you want to follow the Sharia, if you want a supremacist view of the world, if you want to hate Jews and kill Christians, you become our enemy. You're an enemy of everything. You're an enemy of common sense. You're an enemy of nature. You're an enemy of yourself. You hate yourself. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But these people strap on bombs, and then their stupid mothers, you know, want to send the rest of their kids. How are you supposed to make peace with people like that? This is so stupid.
You can't make peace
God.
with people who glorify death and have no value for life. And you people who think that these campus groups like the MSA are just innocent, you know, same as like the Black Student Union or something
Yeah.
like that, or a sorority or something, it isn't.
You know,
These
you're out of your mind.
Muslim Brotherhood, this is their credo, and we've read it to you 1,000 times. We'll read it 1,000 times more. The Brotherhood's credo is Allah is our objective, the Quran our law, the Prophet is our leader, jihad is our way, and death for the sake of Allah is the highest of our aspirations. So if you are a member of any of these Muslim Brotherhood groups, I don't care how moderate you think you are, guess what? You're not. And if you're not a member, but you're a supporter of them because you think it's just free speech and it's just young people expressing their views, you're wrong too. You're siding with evil if you're siding with the Muslim Brotherhood, just like this administration is.
Yep, absolutely.
And you know what? The difference between this kind of people who came to America with an agenda and people like me who came to America and swore to protect this country, and I did it with so much pride. I said, I protected Israel already, and I'm willing to die for this country, to protect this country, the freedom. I don't think they come here with the same agenda.
No, of course not. Of course not. The agenda for the Islamic jihadi, I don't use the word Islamist, you know, it has no meaning. Muslim terrorist, Islamic jihadi. The agenda is jihad. That's
Jihad.
you know, and if the time comes where it has to be violent jihad, it will be violent jihad like every other friggin' country they're in.
That's right.
But right now, if they can do it in a persuasive manner, getting in the pocket of Obama, getting in the bedroom of Hillary with Uma Abedin, whatever the deal is, if they can do it that way, they do it that way.
If they can subvert us from within, then they'll do that first.
But we know they're scam. We know they're scam. That's why they don't like us.
We know that, but people
don't. That's why we're doing this show. We're waking people up. Now, a federal judge last year awarded you $323 million. How does that work? Give us the short thing. We got more people on the line.
Okay, first of all, it's Honorable Judge Royce Lambert from.
Give that guy a hand.
Yes, he's a chief chief judge of federal court in Washington D.C. He wrote a great opinion of his decision, and the remarkable thing was that although Syria tried to provoke or hide behind their servants' immunity, he said it very outright. He was not afraid. He is a man. He said that they already gave up the right of a country sovereignty because they support terrorism openly. It's their policy to support terrorism. Beautiful. As soon as you do that, you lost your sovereignty, and that's why it was a landmark.
All right, well, hang on to that thought. Let's bring a couple of people in, then we'll get back into that.
Okay, next up we have Mark on the line.
Hi, Mark. You're with Tom and CJ and Mike and Thule Woltz.
Hi, Mark.
Hey, Thule. It's Mark. I work with Tom Trento.
Oh, that Mark. Okay. Where are you? You're not here today, Mark. Yeah.
I'm at the new. I'm in the new cave, new man cave.
Oh, okay.
I just want to tell you, Tom was talking earlier how people, you inspire people.
Yes.
Well, your story and a couple other stories have really inspired me to do what I do. And the other two people you know very well.
Yes.
One was Todd Deemer, and David Deemer, who you know.
Yes.
Another one was Aaron Vaughn. And without your courage to persevere, to share your story, there are hundreds and thousands of people who would not be inspired to do what we do.
That's true.
And you probably even saved a couple lives you don't even know about.
Oh, absolutely.
Amen.
And so I just wanted to give you a call and say thank you.
Mark, thank you so much.
I don't know if the audience knows, but Mark was a very successful network engineer. Thanks for calling, Mark. A network engineer, and then decided when 9/11 hit to do something. He was building the internet, which was very good, but to do something that had more of an impact in the world for people. Picked up a video camera, knowing nothing about video cameras, and then started to learn it, and one thing led to another, and we all got together, and now he has produced hundreds of videos with the United West, all of us involved, and we've had, I think, 400 of these shows. So, yeah, 400 of these shows,
Wow.
and several hundred. We have probably 700 or 800 pieces out there that he's been directly involved in. That literally, because you can look at the analytics, we've had over 4 million people watching this stuff, and Mark will stay up 24 hours in a row to get something done and get it done right, and then that thing goes and hits 100,000 people. Who we get all the emails
Incredible.
that say you've changed my life and you've done this, but what he's saying, what I'm saying, for you to kind of figure out why you're here, you're impacting people like us that are impacting people with a gigantic microphone like this. So, would you prefer that didn't happen? Of course, we all would. But it happened, and now you're fulfilling your purpose clearly in doing what you're doing. And it's tough, It's tough for you, tough for all of us. Who else is out there?
Ron on the line.
Hi, Ron. You're with Tom and everybody else here. Ronnie, are you there?
Is
All right.
going to the Middle East. But
Hey, Ron,
the
start
agenda
over.
does not
We missed you for a second. Why don't you start over, please? Nice to have you here. Where are you calling from, Ron? Where are you calling from?
Tamarack.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. John Kerry is supposed to go to the Middle East, but his agenda does not include Israel. Why?
Kerry, John Kerry.
Oh, John Kerry.
The new French ambassador to the United States. That's what he is, right? He's the French ambassador to the
No,
United
he's
States?
he's Department State. He's the
Secretary of State.
He's the Secretary of Misinformation.
No, he isn't. He's the French ambassador to the United States. John Kerry from Massachusetts. Yeah, he's French, and he's become the ambassador from France to America.
Yeah, he's our newest goodwill ambassador to the Muslim world, and that's why he's not going to Israel.
I didn't know he wasn't going to Israel. Where's he going to? Where's he
Is
headed?
that why?
Where?
Is that why?
No, where is he headed to? What country?
I think he's somewhere in the Middle East. But I thought John Kerry was took the place of Hillary Clinton.
No, yes. I was being humorously sarcastic.
Oh, is that what you're doing?
Yes.
Okay.
Because of he speaks French, and he wants to be French, and he wants to be a world citizen. So he's got his wonderful job. He and his wife are worth $1 billion. He's worth $250. Yeah, $250 himself.
He's worth a lot. He's worth quite a bit of money.
My guess is Obama is going there in March, which is going to be.
So we got it covered then.
Yeah, and he probably doesn't want to be.
Right?
He doesn't want Kerry to. When is Kerry going? Do you know the date?
No, offhand I don't.
We got some more calls.
Yeah. All right. Well, tomorrow, somewhere tomorrow, we're going to analyze Obama's trip. Mark Langfan is going to be with us. He wrote a great article.
Is he going to be here?
No, he's going to just Skype in. He wrote an article on how Obama is setting up Netanyahu to fail on a worldwide scale.
He's been trying for years.
and blame Netanyahu for Iran getting the bomb. That's tomorrow. Thanks, Ron. We'll see you. Who do we have next?
Take care.
Thank you, Ron. Bye-bye.
Next, we have Patrick.
Okay.
No, Patrick is gone. Okay, we have Volanda.
Hi, Volanda. You're here with Thule, and you know CJ and me and Mike. Say hello to Thule.
Hi, Thule.
Hi, Volanda.
Yeah, I heard about your story. It's been a while back, but I just wanted to let you know that as a Black American here in America, I am. FAU is my alma mater. I was telling CJ, and Tom knows that too. I feel very badly that school has now become a haven for anti-Semitism and all sorts of hatred. Just recently, myself, they've been sending me things, brochures about supporting them, this and that, and I've recently sent a letter back to them saying I can't support any university like that. I just want to let you know that hearing your story again has reinforced my resolve to fight what's going on there and everywhere else in this country as best I can as an average citizen.
Thank you.
You keep up the good work, and I will keep in touch with your foundation and everything and try to do my best to support it.
Thank you very much, Volanda. It's very encouraging. Thank you.
But I just want to let you know that there are people in this country that are behind you, people of color, people who understand the threat that's coming against, I would say, all of us right now.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thule, did you know when you came here today that you were going to hear all these stories about how you really changed the direction of so many people's lives, Tom's life, Mark's life, my life, because I ended up working with you and with Tom at the same time after hearing about Daniel's story, and all these listeners out there. I mean, you just don't know.
Yes, I'm glad to hear that. Really encouraged.
All right.
I want to give a shout out.
Sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Before I leave, Tom, I want to give a shout out to Pat because I heard him earlier say something that really made me cringe. Anybody that tells Israel to go back to pre-1967 borders is no friend of Israel. I don't care who they are. Okay? So the President of the United States, I don't care what he says publicly, he is no friend of the Jewish people and no friend of the Jewish state.
Amen.
Amen.
All right, thanks
You're
a lot.
Absolutely right.
Thank you, Volanda. It's 39 minutes after. Thanks, Volanda. It's 39 minutes after 5 o'clock on the East Coast. You're watching Tom Trento, CJ, Thule, Mike is here. This is Trento Vision. If you're watching the show, we have some surprises for you in a couple of days, visual surprises. So mark your calendars for Thursday. Thursday, we're going to try to show you something pretty neat.
We'll be surprised if it works.
Yeah, if it works, we're all going to be surprised. But
it will work.
Mark is diligently working. So CJ and I may be traveling to Saudi Arabia and Canada and Italy all in the same minute. We're gonna see how that works. So on WNN, if you're listening in your automobile, you are listening to 1470 on the right-hand side of the dial, WNN, Boca Raton. Blasting out of the Beasley Broadcasting Company right here in Boca, 50,000 watts. We thank you for tuning in every day, and I know some of you get in your automobiles and just listen for 10 or 15 minutes, 20 minutes as you're driving from one bar to the next, but that's the way life is, I guess. But if you take your little smartphone and download iHeartRadio, then when you get out and go in one restaurant and then the next restaurant or the horse track or whatever you're doing in South Florida having fun, you can download WNN and listen to us as you go out of your car. So the ideal way is listen in the car when you get in at 3 o'clock, take iHeart as you walk into your house on your iPhones, and then put on your computer and watch the rest of the evening because we bring you stuff that nobody brings you. And you can call in and play around with us, 888-565-1470. Right now we have Thule Woltz here, a South Florida resident, also dual citizenship. He fought for his country, Israel, where he was born in Jerusalem. In the Yom Kippur War, went on to train policemen and air marshals on El Al. Came to the United States, got involved in a whole bunch of different things. Then was in 2006 on Passover vacation in Israel. Went to Tel Aviv to just go have a kosher sandwich in Tel Aviv, and wound up explaining the horrible situation where he and his son were blown up by Muslim terrorists. Just like Ed Koch says on his tombstone, 64 people injured, 11 died, and Thule still carries the blast injuries physically on his body, but they have prepared his heart to be a sensitive, compassionate, caring individual that doesn't have an ounce of hatred in his body, and is trying to be, as his dad said, go choose life and be productive. And we've been telling the story here how Thule, along with his phenomenal wife, Cheryl, who is behind the scenes a lot, but is the anchor in that family in many respects, allows him to do what he does, and they operate as a team. These guys have impacted so many lives, as we've been saying here. So if you want to get in, 888-565-1470.
Okay, we do have another caller, but before we get to the other caller, just for the purposes of this hour, if you guys could please go over again what's happening at FAU tomorrow night and talk about the film a little bit. And Thule, you want to tell us about the film?
Well, I'll explain it.
Okay.
My English is a little better than his. Not really much. It's a New Jersey English, but not really much. Tomorrow night at Florida Atlantic University, a group of students invited Thule Woltz because of his background, a military background, and a background of being in the middle of an Islamic attack, and then filing a lawsuit against Iran and Syria and the Bank of China, and winning the lawsuit. I don't know if there's anybody in the world that's done anything that has been involved in all of those things.
Bank of China is not finished yet.
The Bank of China is not finished yet.
But Syria and
I
Iran
ain't finished with the Bank of China yet. We're going to get the Bank of China. But who has been born in Jerusalem, fought in the Yom Kippur War, been blown up, then sued the terrorists and won? Name somebody else that has done something like that. I think you're the only person in the world, or if there is someone else, it ain't a lot of them.
Started a foundation that educates millions of people, not just in the United States, but all over the world.
In love, yeah. Here, sign this document. Sign this document.
Do you know what?
Wait. Sign this. It's the rights to the movie rights you're signing over to me, okay?
Yeah. I just want to read.
I need $300 million to make it, though.
Really quickly, the Daniel Cantor Woltz Foundation, which is dcwfoundation.org. I would like to read what the mission is here, okay? It says on the website, our mission is to educate people on the nature, tactics, and goals of terrorism, promote global strategies for eradicating terrorism, and encourage socially responsible, ethically guided behaviors that contribute to a safe and peaceful world.
Very cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So now, how do you tell me if somebody calls in? But how do you got somebody?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I want to talk to this guy, but let's let them talk to him.
Okay. It's Mary on the line.
Okay. Hi, Mary. You with Tom and Thule, TT.
Tom and CJ and Thule. Thule, God bless you for what you're doing and the work you're doing.
Thank you.
I work with Tom in some of his efforts as well, but out of a different state. But, one of the things that we've tried to do here is to try and get with the Jewish Educational Alliance here, some of the Jewish folks, to try and get them up to par on some of these threats. Is there anything you can tell us to give us any ideas, some guidance on how we can get that communication going? Because they seem to want to just kind of put us out the door and just kind of ignore us, and we so want to just be in there and be a friend with them and advise them and get them up on what's going on in this city that we're in, if nothing else. And we're losing ground. Is there anything?
She's in Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah, Mary. Yeah, let me ask you, Thule, to follow up a little bit with Mary's question or to add to it. It seems to me, and this is especially in South Florida, I notice, the leaders of the Jewish community really seem to be more interested in this nonsense of twinning and building bridges of peace with Muslim jihadi groups, and pretty much they shut down listening to people like you, to people like Tom. They don't want to hear the truth of what is happening and what has happened and what will happen. They want to close their eyes, bury their heads in the sand, pretend it's going to go away on its own if they just roll over and play nice with the people who want to kill them. How do you get through to people like that?
Well, first of all, it starts with small groups. You gather small groups of people that will listen to you. You show plenty of movies that will be a great background and basis for conversation. And the word would spread. And what we do, we also go to places that we know that they are trying to close their eyes and think that everything will be okay if they just go to sleep. And we convince them to do some type of event. It's not necessarily, starting with the hardcore movies, but for instance, we gathered in a very liberal place, parents of kids who are going to colleges. And we did show the movie Crossing the Line. And you know what? It turned out to be one of the best things we ever did, because it mushroomed to other groups who are parents that concerned about their kids going to places, not because they're so concerned about showing that the kids are Jewish or they just want to protect their kids. And after seeing the movie, they understand what is going on in campuses, and it really mushroomed to other groups. So we do start with small groups, and we continue with bigger ones. That's one suggestion, and we can talk a lot if you call us or email us.
Why don't we do this? Mary, why don't you invite Thule to come up there to speak?
I think that would be great. We'd love to try and get you in with the JEA here. We know the director of the facility, and we'd like to try and bring you in if that would work out.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to do that. We're going all over the world.
Tom's got my contact information, so I'll try and get that from him as well, from you, and we'll try to link up together and see what we can plan. I think that would be great to bring you here and get the Crossing the Line shown to them as well.
Yeah, go on the website, the www.dcwfoundation.org, and you can get the email from there and contact us.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, Mary. Good to hear you again, and hopefully we'll meet sometime.
Yes, you guys will.
We've never met.
That's right. You do a great job, CJ, and thanks, Tom. Appreciate it.
Thank you. No, absolutely. No, Mary's a hard charger. She works a full-time job and is running our organization up there, United West in Georgia, and very organized. Beyond that, and Mary, this is for all you people out there. Go, what can I do? I don't know what I can do. Mary works a full-time job. She put the United West group together. She's got about 25 people up there now. She had a big briefing with myself, John Guandolo, Mark, a bunch of us about a year ago, and she hosts a blog talk radio show. She knows nothing about radio or anything. She dove in and said, I'm going to learn it. And she does an hour show every week. I mean, it's really amazing. So if you're still there, thank you, Mary. And
thank you, Mary.
Keep fighting the battle. See you later.
It's all because of you, Tom.
Oh, yeah,
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, bye-bye.
And it all goes back to Thule. So the font. Did you see that email? Yeah. So, Thule, we got a couple of minutes left.
Yes.
That's pretty wild. Yeah.
Yes.
Thule, we got a couple of minutes left. Yeah. And We're gonna have to bring you back because I want to go through the legal process. I think it'd be a fascinating show to go through the forensic investigation that took place by your legal team, which has been all over the place. I mean, you were like minutes away from having to drop this because you didn't have an attorney.
Correct.
And then somebody jumped up to save the day. What was that all about?
Well, up to the point of Iran and Syria, which did not really defend themselves, they only at the beginning of the case they tried to tell the United States that they have no right to.
Because we have no standing.
Correct. They have no standing. They have no right to take countries into court. So there, our first group of attorneys were used to lawsuits without any defense. When it came to the Bank of China, it was different. First of all, just in short, we have evidence, overwhelming evidence that the Bank of China transferred, was the vehicle to transfer money from Iran to the Islamic Jihad and other terrorist groups.
So it went from Iran through the Bank of China into Syria?
Into the West Bank and into other places, which I don't want to tell them what we know right now.
Yeah, forget about that.
But we have the overwhelming evidence that they did transfer money, despite the Bank of China was warned not to do that, close accounts, and they did not consider those groups as terrorist group, or for whatever reason they decided that the money was more important for them, and continued to transfer money that was used to the suicide bombing that killed Daniel.
Let's hold that whole story because we have to kind of redact it maybe, to not tell parts of it, but I really would love to do a show on laying out the way the attorneys and the accountants and everything traced all of this. It's really like a spy mystery, but we got about a minute left.
We'll do it after the trial is over.
Okay. Yeah. We'll do it from your yacht in the middle of the ocean.
I'm not going to buy a yacht. I'm going to use the money to help.
You would.
We know what you're going to do with the money.
You would.
You'll be our trust fund baby.
Yeah, you
you know what?
You will impact so many lives if and when you ever got that money. You will.
Correct.
You will impact so many lives. It isn't funny. Impact some lives right now. Look into that camera. You got about a minute. Share your thoughts. Whatever you want to tell the folks regarding.
You mentioned something about hatred, and I can never forget. We were interviewed by CNN and BBC at the hospital. They came to us. And I'm still wearing that original bracelet, Pray for Daniel.
Wow.
And they asked me, what do you want to say? And I say, I want the world to pray for Daniel's recovery. No. What do you want to say? I mean, tell me about this, people that killed him. They tried to provoke me to get angry and to be upset, but honestly it was not in my mind. My mind was only about Daniel recovery, and they were very angry. They were the one who were angry.
Right, exactly.
That I was only asking for prayers.
Wow.
So that's where about who is promoting hate. It's also the media, the BBC and CNN.
Well, folks, you have been treated to a wonderful gentleman, a family man, a great dad. We didn't tell the rest of the story. In your later years, God blessed you with what?
We don't talk about that. Yeah. I'm blessed. I'm blessed
in many ways.
Yes, in
many
ways.
ways. And you have been treated, folks, to an amazing individual. Please go to the website again, CJ.
DCWFoundation.org.
Go there, check out Daniel Cantor Woltz's foundation, and if you need to get in touch with Thule, contact me, Tom at TrentoVision.tv.
Please try to come see the movie at FAU tomorrow night at the Hillel Room, 6:30 p.m. Crossing the Line. If you're not able,
And we'll push that tomorrow,
Yeah,
too.
we will. If you're not able to attend,
I need a
we
break.
will-
I need a break.
We all need a break.
This is a very emotional 3 hours
All
here.
right, I won't tell you any more about
All right, everybody. We'll see you. Love you, Thule.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Love you
Bye-bye.
too, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. Doing a great job.
Thanks for tuning in to Trento Vision, where bad ideas get pulverized and the truth will set you free. Tom Trento can be reached at 561-319-5533 or tom@trentovision.tv. And tune in again weekdays from 3 to 6 p.m. on AM 1470 WNN. The opinions expressed on the preceding sponsored program were strictly those of its hosts, guests, and callers, and not necessarily those of this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
This is Steve Kane, and I want to introduce you to our family dentist, Dr. Michael Blum, at the Center for the Dental Arts in downtown Fort Lauderdale, where you can attain the